Whoops.
today.
Whoops. My bad.
It's
Sitting here getting
okay.
all crunchy on you, Bloom.
That's okay though. They're fine. It gives them a chance to talk amongst yourselves.
Coffee talk now.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to football, guys.
Football. I'm living in a fantasy. Football. Got everybody mad at me. Football. Cause every game I had to win. Football. I gotta be a champion. Football. I'm living in a fantasy.
Oh, what a wild and wonderful day we have prepared for you. Part 1 of the Week 9 preview here on the Audible. And no, this isn't a Halloween costume. This is how I dress. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom going over Tennessee and Pittsburgh. Oh, Bloom. I know. Thursday night football. I can't wait until our Frankfurt games.
Yes.
Shout out to Ralph, who's sending me some information from over there, overseas, around Frankfurt and what everything's going on there. But let's get through this Tennessee-Pittsburgh game. Tennessee side, it's Wednesday morning as we're recording this. We don't know if Ryan Tannehill's going to play. He shouldn't. They should go to Will Levis. They should just roll with the future. But it's Mike Vrabel, and he's loyal. But yeah, Wally Pipp meet Ryan Tannehill. That should happen. We don't know if that's going to happen. So here we are, Bloom.
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting about this, I don't know how many people got to watch the Tennessee-Atlanta game last week. It wasn't exactly must-see TV, but this one is going to be an island game. We'll see what Will Levis does against a team that can actually get some pressure. And we could easily see him change. Although also you would think the game plan is a lot of Derrick Henry. The Steelers defense can meet Derrick Henry with intensity. So this is going to be, well, a street fight, a low-scoring game, and I don't think it's going to be great for fantasy. You're still going to have to put DeAndre Hopkins in after what he did last week. If he does anything remotely like that, you're going to feel really silly. 4 teams are on bye. You're going to put him in. But the other thing here, you mentioned Mike Vrabel. Hey, if they win this game, they're going to get back to 4-4. Here we are again, where there's all kinds of reasons the Titans should be one of the worst teams in the league, and yet they remain competitive. And maybe, just maybe, they're going to get another sign that they found their quarterback.
Yeah, that they found their quarterback, and the Steelers, well, they found their quarterback, and he's hurt. So does that mean Mitchell Trubisky again, Wednesday morning? We don't yet know. Pickett will play if he can, and I just have a sinking feeling it's going to be Trubisky.
Yeah, the sinking feeling is we're all the way back, Cease. I don't know whenever. See, you're a little bit older than me. So you might have become a Steelers fan and really aware of the Steelers when they were still in the tail end of that glory, the 70s Super Bowl glory. And
yeah,
I
in the
suppose,
80s, since we shopped at secondhand stores, this is why people always like, why are you a Steelers fan? In the 80s, when, because grew up poor, we would shop in the secondhand stores, and all the 70s stuff was like a quarter. So I had a Lynn Swann jersey, Franco Harris jersey, Terry Bradshaw jersey that I all got for like 75 cents. So in the late 80s and 90s, like I was rocking that stuff. But yeah, I remember early 80s, being different, loving the black and gold, right?
Oh, yeah. And in our minds in Western Pennsylvania, we were still rocking the 70 Steelers. But there was the year they went to the AFC title game. John Stallworth was still on the team. The point is, we're going all the way back to, I'm calling it the Bubby Brister days. We're back to the Bubby Brister days. Where is Bubby more beloved, in Pittsburgh or Denver?
He's pretty beloved in Denver.
Yeah, he is. Get to know Bubby if you don't. But, it's a team that's going to try to rub 2 sticks together on offense and try to come through, make plays on defense. In some ways, this is another Spider-Man meme kind of game, except the Steelers don't have Derrick Henry. Najee Harris is no Derrick Henry. And the Tennessee run defense means you're not going to play either running back in this offense. Kenny Pickett says he's going to play. I mean, at least you can say that about him. He'll grit his teeth and play through injuries. Not that you'll be able to tell. Deontay Johnson was racking up targets and catches until he left briefly with a hamstring issue last week. And then I don't think he caught another pass after that. He was out there, risky play, good matchup. Let's call him a boom bust wide receiver 3 flex play, maybe closer to what the heck flex. Let's see what his practice participation looks like. But it may make you more inclined to go with George Pickens, although you like Pickens better if Pickett is out there. Mitchell Trubisky doesn't really look for Pickens as much. And yeah, this is an ugly game. There's not even going to be a World Series game on CC that you could watch in baseball. Maybe there'll be hockey or basketball or something. Sports Equinox was yesterday, all 4 sports, the only day of the year.
Okay, there you go. I'll take your word for it. We will take the word of our fans across the seas, and it's always great to hear from everyone. And again, I just got Ralph on the brain. Like, he's giving me all the inside of what's going on over there. The Frankfurt games. It's Miami and Kansas City. You want to talk about a showcase? Roger Goodell wants the league to expand and like have teams across the world. You show a game like this, if it's the game it could be, Bloom,
Mm-hmm.
what a world.
Yeah.
What a showcase. Miami and Kansas City. Kansas City will be reeling from the Denver loss. It is a Broncos show. Can the Dolphins continue their misery, or does Kansas City put up more of a fight?
This is reminding me of that Rams-Chiefs game that was in Mexico City. What was it, 54-51? And at the time, it looked like it was going to be the best matchup of the year, and it actually was the best matchup of the year. I think Samson Ekubon might have scored like once or twice in that game. I don't know. But if this lives up to the billing, like you said, Cease, this is a product. This is something that you can sell people on. It's going to be a very exciting game. Make sure you set your alarm. And will Tua Tagovailoa have his bell rung by the Chiefs defense? This is a good Chiefs defense. However, we saw Tua against a New England defense that contained him in this passing game back in week 2, was not able to do that last week. Now, this is also a New England defense that didn't have Matt Judon, didn't have Christian Gonzalez, but you did see Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle coming into the game, supposedly not 100%. Couldn't tell by how things looked out there. You're going to still play Raheem Mostert. I wouldn't be surprised. You're not playing him in DFS. And the clock is ticking on his value because we saw the backups, notice the plural there, Jeff Wilson and Salvon Ahmed, getting together the same number of touches as Mostert. Mostert at least scored in that game. But it was actually Wilson and Ahmed more involved in the passing game than Mostert. And by the way, Devin Achane should be back soon. So again, you will see Raheem Mostert turn back into a pumpkin. But I think the other thing we're going to ask Cease, and it's an Andy Reid team, so I think we know the answer. How is this, and it's a Steve Spagnuolo team, how is this defense going to respond? How is this offense going to respond to being humiliated, really, in Denver last week?
Yeah, wasn't close, and they weren't good. And do they respond by more Pacheco? Like, that's maybe the missing element. And getting a little too cute with things. I mean, the hook and ladder's fun, but yeah, KC, go out there and do it. And people are blaming the wide receivers. Pat Mahomes did it without Tyreek Hill, and obviously Tyreek Hill a weapon. And the Hill revenge game. Did we bring that up yet, Bloom? Like, okay. But Mahomes has done it before, and Kelsey's got to be healthy and be effective. But
Yeah.
I'm not as quick to blame the wide receivers because I believe guys like Rashee Rice, even Sky Moore, as they continue to grow and develop, will continue to make plays. This will be the type of week where, hey, young guys, young bucks, time to step up.
Yeah, and you wonder, Cease, it's a good topic you opened up, right? Is it really on the wide receivers themselves? Is it maybe that the Chiefs' plan at wide receiver hasn't been a good plan, right? Let's have these roles all segmented, broken out, and not really have a full-time player and try players maybe that should be at the slot inside. And is Rashee Rice the answer? Is he the one guy that's going to emerge? As you can see that if the targets are there, then he can produce after the catch. So I think you're going to stick with him, and you wonder if he's the one that can finally break out of these players at wide receiver having limited roles, and otherwise this pass offense, at least in terms of being productive with the wide receiver, not being consistent. The plans with Kadarius Toney haven't worked out. The plans with Sky Moore haven't worked out. Justin Watson and Marcus Valdes-Scantling at least are playing their roles, but where's that go-to guy? It should be Rice, but like you said, Pacheco is really important in this offense. And I do think that if you look at the Miami defense, we'll see if Xavier Howard's back. Jalen Ramsey is back. We could finally every day have two really good corners out there for Vic Fangio. And when you have a pass rush that includes Jalen Phillips, Emmanuel Ogbah, and so on, you have a chance to harass Patrick Mahomes. So I think this is a matchup. See, the other thing I'm going to say about this matchup is don't necessarily expect to wake up to offensive fireworks. I think this game could show the defenses. It could show how these quarterbacks and these offenses can be limited. And see, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami wins this game decisively. I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City has a little trouble answering the bell after it wasn't just Patrick Mahomes being sick. The whole team looked like they had the flu.
Yeah, they were all sick. And here's the thing. They'll meet again. And that's the thing. Like
Lamar Jackson says,
right. They'll meet again. And so do you put all your everything into this game, or do you save some for the postseason? Do you have something different? You always have to. That was one of the things. God bless Bill Cowher. I think I had a dream about the chin last night. I don't know why. But like, God bless Bill Cowher. But until he changed things in the postseason, he didn't win anything. Like, you've got to have a different look. Throw something different at him. And we'll see if that happens. Minnesota and Atlanta. Boy, we got some bangers today. Minnesota side, it is going to be Jaron Hall. It's not yet going to be Josh Dobbs. We know that. And Hall, and this is why when people, and God bless everyone who's like, who's your number 4 through 6 quarterbacks next year? I'm like, hey, let me get on the road, baby. Like, let me see these guys in person. Because Jaron Hall was a quarterback I was excited about, right? Like, he got a little Russell Wilson to his game. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. I was like, ooh. And Russell, by the way, had a bad, mediocre week at the Senior Bowl. So Senior Bowl doesn't mean everything, doesn't mean they can't play or whatever. But like, there were so many flaws with Hall that you see in person against the nation's best seniors. You're like, there's a lot of work to do there. But, now he gets one chance, and he might do a bad impression of Desmond Ridder. But anyway, let's talk about Minnesota now reeling post Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Hall, Cease. I think this is a good moment. What do we say are the strengths of his? He's undersized, like you said. As soon as you hear Russell Wilson comparison, you're trying to say a small quarterback who might still be okay in the NFL, right? Athletic enough. Well, again, Russell Wilson. Not a flamethrower of an arm, not a power arm, right? Not necessarily a guy that's going to win any kind of skills competitions with his arm. A reasonable processor. I mean, for a rookie, he's not going to look like he's drowning out there.
Right.
Short, intermediate passes, right? I mean, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison should be okay for PPR leagues. KJ Osborne on the outside, maybe not as okay. Maybe dump offs, maybe more dump offs to Alexander Madison and Cam Akers, but probably just a very underachieving offense. It doesn't even necessarily matter what the split is among the running backs, but it was more Alexander Madison last week, even though Cam Akers got the touchdown. They're both desperation plays. And I guess this is the beginning of the post Kirk Cousins era, even though he has a purple cast on his leg. Good for him.
Yeah, here we go. Atlanta side. All right, Falcons. I feel very frustrated every week with Atlanta because of the skills they have at multiple positions that never seem to be used correctly, Bloom.
Right.
So here we go. More Atlanta talk.
Yeah. Again, I think the metaphor I used was, having a bunch of different, and I guess canned food. I mean, that's passe, right? It's processed food. It's bad stuff. I don't know. But, if you had all this food, but you didn't have a can opener, really it's more like there are delicacies. Some canned food are like seafood, like different mussels and all kinds of exotic things that come from other countries. That's like caviar. Caviar comes in a can, right? It's like you have a can of caviar, Cease, but no can opener. You're banging it against a rock or something. That's his offense, banging a can of caviar against a rock to see if you can bust it open somehow. And Minnesota, well, they're going to probably be better against the run, but you also know that Atlanta, by the way, Atlanta's a first place team. Did I mention that? Atlanta's tied for first place. NFC South, everybody. Bijan Robinson, you want to see what he can do in the passing game. Yeah, by the way, as of this moment, we don't even know who's going to start. Let's wait for Arthur Smith on that one. If it's Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke, you're facing a rookie 5th round quarterback. I would expect the game plan to be 40 carries for the running backs and 15 play action passes, or just designed easy passes. I don't think it's going to be a big passing game. Drake London may or may not play, depending on his practice reports. You might not even want to play him if he is active. Even Kyle Pitts, we're seeing Van Jefferson added mid-season, already playing a larger role in this passing game than we would expect or want, because it's not yielding anybody outside of Drake London that we really feel like we can trust. Maybe this is going to be a Tyler Algier game. Maybe this is going to be a game that you're not going to watch, and it's not going to be very pretty when we don't know who the quarterback for one of the teams is going to be on Wednesday, and that's actually going to be the more experienced, better quarterback in this game.
Exactly. Wow, more hits keep coming. Arizona and Cleveland. Do you have a honeydew list? Because Sunday, you got the early game, right? Wake up early.
Right.
KC, Miami.
Right. Good news.
Take the rest of the day off. And then rack up those brownie points, everybody. Am I right? Yeah. Arizona, Cleveland. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Trey McBride, sure. Okay. Watch the running back situation. But it's against Cleveland. So is there anything here for the Cardinals side that you could trust?
I doubt it. Good use of brownie points, by the way, Cease, for a Cleveland game. It might be Clayton Tune. It might be a rusty Kyler Murray, and play the Cleveland defense. Everybody. Imari DiMercado should be what the heck flex if they can keep this game close. Same thing with Marquise Brown. The one player we can trust, I guess, as Bob Henry gave us this wonderful nickname, Princess McBride, Trey McBride. I think that's the guy you can trust. You have a lot of tight end by design targets, and you have McBride showing what he can do after the catch. One of his part of his scouting report, not necessarily an athletic marvel, right? See, so we were talking about Trey McBride, like what got him into the second round of the NFL draft? Was it amazing athletic tools? No. Smooth hands, and he knows what to do after the catch. I mean, he's not a catch and fall down tight end. He's a viable player after the catch too. That's another reason that they're going to feed him some targets. And Arizona, at the very least, we can talk about some of these teams. We will get to the Raiders. I think they're going to be in part 2, but how can we not at least mention what happened with the Raiders? Like, how many times have we ever had a coach and a GM and everybody fired overnight? The Raiders, everybody. At least the Cardinals know where they are, right? At least they're not in denial. At least they're not trying to do a halfway plan. Let's be competitive, but let's also build for the future. They're building for the future. They have Houston's first-round pick in addition to their own. And, hey, they saw an opportunity to get something for Joshua Dobbs, and they did it. And that is at least a team that is looking in the mirror and being honest with themselves.
Yeah. Now the Brown side with less Donovan Peoples-Jones. All right. Michigan going back to Michigan, Bloom.
Yeah.
See, I knew I'd bring up your Lions, even though we're not yet to the Lions. But, hey, we got to talk Brown side. And, well, again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the NFL schedule. Usually I apologize for the Broncos' performance, not last week. But now I just apologize for this god-awful schedule for most of Sunday.
Yeah, and see, this is one of those things where I think that we've heard this discussed at different times, and I hear sometimes all these rules protecting the quarterback. Oh, you have to have pillows on your hands and place them gently down on the ground, or there's going to be a penalty. Well, here's the thing. When quarterbacks get hurt in the NFL, the quality of the product drops significantly. Okay, it is a business. It is an entertainment business, and why are we talking about how these matchups are so it's because poor quarterback play in some cases in place of injured quarterbacks, although Deshaun Watson is giving us a little bit of both. I don't know if he's going to be ready for this one. PJ Walker, if he does start, I mean, maybe we could see Dorian Thompson-Robinson at some point in the game as the frenetic, nerve-wracking games. They lost one last week. It's not necessarily on PJ Walker. What a play by Jamal Adams, who I think said he did get the idea from watching soccer, a header on a pass that they were able to intercept and get the game-winning touchdown on that drive. It's a three-headed backfield from last week. From this week, I would hope that we see Jerome Ford emerge back into getting more than half of the snaps and touches, and at least he's a running back too. Arizona's run defense, you want to play running backs against Arizona's run defense. Maybe even Kareem Hunt as a what-the-heck flex. We'll see if Pierre Strong can at least continue some momentum for dynasty leagues, get a nice big play in the passing game. The other thing here is I don't know who the quarterback is going to be. Well, maybe not at the end of the game. Maybe we'll know at the beginning of the game. But David Njoku, Amari Cooper have actually had pretty durable value. If you look, David Njoku has actually been better with PJ Walker than he was with Deshaun Watson. And Amari Cooper's been about the same, 2 good games, 1 bad game. So I think that you're probably putting them in your lineup here as Cleveland. Don't tell Cleveland that they're out of the playoff picture. Don't tell Cleveland, because you were talking about the Miami-Kansas City game, and I do want to take a moment just for a brief second while I was trying to preview the games this week, putting together my notes. I did start to think about, because we're going to get to one in part 2 on the Sunday night game. So that's what you do. You get up early on Sunday, you watch the Sunday morning game, and then, like C said, get some stuff done, spend some time with the family, do something else, and then get ready for the game on Sunday night. Because what is beautiful, again, about the AFC side of the bracket, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, he's back, everybody. Tua Tagovailoa in Miami, they're trying to say, like, hey, we belong in this conversation too. We belong. Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville saying, hey, we belong in this conversation. Who's that 7th team? Is it Justin Herbert and the Chargers? Is it Deshaun Watson, at least as an adequate quarterback with this defense, with this running game without Nick Chubb? They could be interesting. So I want to see who's that 7th team. The Jets with Aaron Rodgers with some bionic Achilles. I don't know. But that's what's fun about the AFC. Even the 7th seeded team is going to be a fun team to watch in the wild card round. And meanwhile, Cleveland, in a game like this, they should win handily to stake their claim to that spot.
It is the audiblefootballguys.com. You want to help the show, do the YouTube things like comment, share, subscribe, notification bell, etc. And then if you want to support the show, go subscribe to footballguys.com. Don't do any silly super chats. Pay me to put something on the screen. But Bloom, has food ever hurt you? Like, not stomach-wise, brother. But I made some chili, and I was like, I'm going to throw in more habanero peppers.
Oh, no.
And so, like, it cleared my sinuses, whatever, right? It usually you eat hot stuff that does it. But also, like, my throat's stinging still today. And I'm like, holy cow. Less habanero for my chili cook-off.
We have peppers upon peppers upon peppers. Actually, they're doing something over at the New Orleans Healing Center where one of the voodoo loas, on Day of the Dead, you bring offerings to him. He's the one that is at the crossroads of death and life. I think he's GEDE. I'm not sure exactly how to say his name. You bring him like sunglasses with one lens because he sees into both worlds, And he likes peppers, but we have peppers, all kinds of pepper plants outside. Everything grows and grows and grows in New Orleans. The ohm is strong here, and I've made the mistake a few times of, I wonder what pepper this is. I'm just going to pop one. Oh, that was a mistake. But like you said, it gets the blood flowing. It's good for you. That's why it's good for you.
Knocks it out, right? And knocks it out. That's for sure. There you go. Let's get into LA Rams and Green Bay Packers, and I guess it's Royce Freeman.
Right.
I guess it's Royce Freeman. Royce, buddy. Okay, yeah, I'll leave that stuff alone, but let's talk about Puka Nacua and maybe no Matthew Stafford, right? And that leads into Cooper Kupp here as well. Maybe it is Brett Rippon, but Puka Nacua has been disappointing fantasy GMs after a hot start in its windows, everybody. This window isn't as good as the early season window. Now Matthew Stafford banged up. Royce Freeman led backfield potentially on the road against Green Bay. I guess I'll check out the weather, NFLweather.com. But what are the Rams going to do, and what are fantasy gyms going to do with their Rams?
Right. See, you talk about windows. Here's a new spin on Cecil Lammey windows. Okay. Have you ever seen in those houses where they have giant picture windows in the living room and birds will fly into it? Thump. Right. This is like the window. It's like the Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp thump flying into the closed window, and Brett Rippon saying, "Oh, sorry, I was supposed to open that. My bad." Because this is going to be bad. Matthew Stafford in the thumb, I think it's a UCL injury. They do have a bye next week. The last I had seen from Jordan Rodriguez, she said they're considering possibly even injured reserve, or at least they haven't ruled that out. Now, this was earlier in the week. We're going to get more information as the week goes on. I just don't know. Look, even if they do play Matthew Stafford, and there are definitely situations where teams say we would rather play our starter who will be ineffective than the backup. That happens. So don't assume that if Matthew Stafford's playing, oh, everything's going to be fine for this offense this week at Green Bay. I think everybody's a what the heck flex. That's Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Royce Freeman. I think Darrell Henderson's been called up from the practice squad 2 weeks in a row, so we'll see whether they sign him to the active roster or something like that. But still, at the best, a what the heck flex, a desperation play. Green Bay defense. Again, the hardest choice you have this week is which defense to pick up off of the waiver wire and which game to bet the under. Hammer the under in all these games.
Yeah, that's right. This is not official gambling advice. Green Bay Packers side, they have no choice. They have no choice but to continue on with Jordan Love and then start making plans for the future. And I think the future conversation is much more interesting with this Packers team than the weekly, what are they going to do against the Rams conversation.
Yeah. See, that's why I want to keep talking about this stuff. Esoterico, right? You put it on the screen.
By the way, that's a good channel on YouTube. Does a good job.
Are peppers part of the nightshade family? I think they are.
I believe so, yes.
Because I was reading much stuff about how people used to believe until pretty recently tomatoes were evil and bad for you, because of nightshade. And peppers. This game is not going to be a spicy pepper on the offensive side. Now,
nice.
the Rams defense did not look very good against Dak Prescott and Dallas and CeeDee Lamb last week. Can Jordan Love do something? Can Jordan Love make some incursions? If there was another quarterback to turn to, we might have a quarterback controversy here. Maybe Christian Watson. Maybe they have time to throw downfield. He's a what the heck flex. Look, 4 teams on bye and some decent offenses: Detroit, San Francisco, Jacksonville, and Denver. You might have to play somebody like Christian Watson, who you expected to play every single week. Aaron Jones, same as ever. Rinse, repeat. Watch the practice reports. Hopefully he has a full practice. Then you feel more confident playing him. Then you feel more confident this offense might get something going. Because remember, he was really, really good in week 1 before he went down with a hamstring injury that is still limiting him.
Yes, limiting is what we thought Sam Howell was doing. And then last week, he totally redeemed himself. So Washington, New England, Bill Belichick's going to try to take one person away. Well, who would that even be? And Howell doesn't care about that stuff. He'll keep slinging it. That's the nice thing about Sam Howell. Little Gardner Minshew minus the cool factor with Howell. And I don't want to be the guy that says his name, Bloom. But Jahan Dotson. Yeah. We'll see. It worked. Why can't it work again? Again, window might be growing. It might have just been 1 week. Okay. Right. But it also might be growing because, again, I'll go back to what I said from people inside the building before the damn season, and we didn't see it until last week. Dotson gets the coaches excited. So does that excitement continue for fantasy GMs in week 9?
Gardner Minshew. I bet he knows about nightshade. He's a gardener, right? He knows about that stuff. I was just reading this week too. Bay leaves. Bay leaves are always good. I think they're supposed to bring you wishes, like manifest. Bay leaves. There's a lot of good stuff out there. It's old knowledge. You know that song, "Give Me That Old Time Religion." You know that one, Cecil? Old time religion. It's about the old religion, like old, your ancestors' old religion, including how to get magic from plants, how to get magic from the Commanders' offense in your fantasy lineup. Hey, this is looking like a pretty good offense for fantasy football this week when you survey the NFL. It's Sam Howell, who's hot, against a weakened Bill Belichick defense. So this is going to be interesting because on one hand, you have the Bill Belichick tricks and schemes. On the other hand, they're missing their best pass rusher and their best cornerback. Maybe because of that, this is a game to go with Brian Robinson. We know if Washington can just control a game, then Brian Robinson's going to get the touches. Chris Rodriguez didn't do anything last week. After 2 weeks ago, it looked like maybe Rodriguez was going to get worked in more. Obviously, Terry McLaurin's in. Are we ever going to get to see Terry McLaurin be as good as he really can be? I hope, Cease. I hope, because it's sad. I mean, Terry McLaurin in the right situation could be one of those players, like maybe not quite Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson, but rated that next tier.
I was going to say Justin Jefferson. Honestly, I think he could be if you put him in the right offense.
Yeah. Well, this isn't necessarily the right offense, but it is at least sometimes a pass-happy offense. We're going to watch Curtis Samuel's practice reports. I guess as a deeper play, Jamison Crowder who will split this role snap-wise with De'Ami Brown, but we saw Sam Howell target him a lot. Very productive last week. And then there's Logan Thomas, still fantasy relevant, still putting together good games. And again, we're not that scared by this New England defense now. And we're definitely not scared by the Washington defense.
No, not at all. New England side of things. Well, DeMario, 7-Eleven, he's always open. I like 7-Eleven better than Pop. But anyway, no Kendrick Bourne makes me sad. Mac Jones makes me mad. So I guess if you don't have conflict, you don't have a story. Patriots got a lot of conflict, Bloom. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Conflict that doesn't involve Josh McDaniels. Wow. They're not missing Josh McDaniels.
You know he'll come crawling back. You know that, right? You know that.
Okay, Cease. Because we got to let this bleed through because it's an interesting story. We're only doing 7 games, so we're close to the end of the part 1 of the week.
We're good, baby.
Who's his rabbi? Who has his back? Who's going to be the person that makes sure that he's still in the NFL circle?
Well, and that's why the unfortunate thing about the good old boy network, and yes, the NFL coaching circles are a good old boy network, is you need to have someone on your side. The only one on McDaniel's side is Belichick, and he's up against it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, do you really want to bring that guy? But it worked with Brady. And Josh McDaniels, I don't have a lot good to say about him. Okay. And I don't want to believe
nobody does.
But when you publicly shame secretaries, he would cuss out landscapers in Spanish. When you're going out of your way to be an aloha, life has a tendency to,
eventually
throw it back at you.
We hope. I mean,
some
people
will say
we pray that happens.
Well, do I need to bring up Peyton Hillis? Anyway, it's natural law. If you don't like the results, don't like what you put in. So, some people would say karma. We're getting real crunchy today. What's somebody hippie talk?
Well,
where's our hippie talk
at?
It's
Dia de los Muertos. This is when the veil is the thinnest between the living and the ancestors. So of course we're thinking on that level right now. It's fall, right? It's whenever the earth is about to go to sleep. Everything's going to go dormant until we celebrate spring again. So yeah, I mean, it was very eerie in some ways. We're not even previewing a Raiders game, but since we're talking about the Patriots, here we are. Right. It is very eerie. See, I can't remember anything similar happening. And especially on the night of Halloween, going to sleep and waking up and finding out. And what's most interesting about this, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow when we preview the Raiders game, is that what was the report that Mark Davis talked to the players and the players told them let me tell you about John. Mm-hmm. It took you until week 8, week 9? Isn't that, aren't you supposed to be aware of that stuff somewhere along the way? Right? I mean, isn't that just part of business that you would know how your coach is performing? Maybe not just take the coach's word for it. I don't know. It's the Raiders. This is how bad organizations stay bad. Are the Patriots about to turn into a bad organization? Well, I'll say this. How often do we hear? See, you love the stuff at the trade deadline, right? What does it mean when we hear an affirmative report that a team did not get calls about a player? Oh, they didn't get any calls about Ezekiel Elliott. Well, yeah. And Mac Jones. So should we then infer that it was known around the league that if you wanted to call about Mac Jones, you could?
That's exactly what it was.
Right? See, it's what's left out, right? When you hear nobody called about Mac Jones, well, wait a second. That means the Patriots said, if you want to, we'll pick up. If you call me, Mac Jones, call me. So he's going up against a Washington defense. Let's talk about failed franchises again. This is welcome to week 9 of the NFL. Bad quarterback play and offenses and failed franchises. The identity of this team was supposed to be the defensive line, right? And then they trade Montez Sweat and Chase Young for second-day picks. What's the identity of this Washington team? I mean, this was already one of the worst defenses in the league, and now you took away their pass rushers, their edge rushers. So if Mac Jones doesn't look good in this game, if Mac Jones isn't productive, and we're talking 2 quarterback superflex leagues, DFS lineups, not necessarily 1 quarterback league, but maybe. I mean, look, if you're Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, even Brock Purdy, and you're going to the waiver wire for your starter, you could do a lot worse than Mac Jones. The question is, who's he going to throw the ball to, with Kendrick Bourne on injured reserve with an ACL. Well, I think Ramondre Stevenson, we could easily see him get into Alvin Kamara with Derek Carr territory in this game. 7, 8, 9 catches. I think he's got to be in your lineup. And then, of course, DeMario Pop Douglas, the one guy who can uncover against man coverage. I'm not really interested in anybody else. So perhaps this may show us that Mac Jones, without much in the passing game, still can't overcome Washington without a pass rush.
Right. And now with fewer pass rushers, because they're in Chicago,
Right.
at least one of them anyway, Chicago and San Francisco. Right. And man, I love John Lynch. I love him. Hey, Randy Gregory didn't work out, so go get somebody else.
Yeah.
So Chicago, hey, we only have 10 sacks on the year. Help. Get some help. They did, Bloom, and well, we got to praise that, because there's a lot of teams that be like, it's coming, it's around the corner,
right,
sitting on our hands, like the Broncos. Anyway, Bears and New Orleans. This one's down in your neck of the woods, Bloom, in NOS. So Chicago side is a bit of a cluster.
Yeah,
and
here we go.
I guess we're getting closer to when Justin Fields could return. Not this week.
Right.
But what are they saying? Like week 10 or week 11 is what I saw. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be bad again. Which defense do you pick up? That's the toughest call. Welcome to week 9. What defense do you play? New Orleans defense down here in the Superdome against Tyson Bagent. Hey, the Bagent, let's applaud him for what he's done. You got a 3-headed backfield, and Khalil Herbert could be back soon too. You're not playing any of the running backs, and maybe not even carrying any of the running backs. However, you did see last week in a blowout loss, which if the Saints, who are tied for first place now, you should see enough targets for Cole Kmet and DJ Moore. Again, with 4 teams on bye, 3 of them with good offenses, you're probably not even questioning whether to play Moore. And Kmet, coming off a 10-catch game, should be in your lineup. That's what you like about Tyson Bagent. You know, he's not afraid to make mistakes. He's going to go out there. He's going to play within himself, but he's going to throw enough passes, even in a futile effort, to give us a few good fantasy plays.
Alvin Kamara. There's your fantasy play on the flip side. Besides the Saints defense, you ask which defense. I'm like, always the home defense, always the Saints defense. And well, Alvin Kamara, always and forever in your lineup. Now with more Taysom Hill, like again, as teams figure stuff out, like they should have already had this figured out. But yeah, that's what we're seeing with Derek Carr and company.
Yeah. Day of the Dead. Is there any Day of the Dead stuff in Denver? Where would the neighborhood? Where would you go if you wanted to go?
Oh, and anything on Federal?
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
it's funny too, because there's a lot of stories about the Superdome, that was built on cursed land. Yeah, in addition to, everywhere you look at this stuff, like people and neighborhoods were once there. So maybe Tyson Bagent is going to see some ghosts, but Derek Carr not seeing any ghosts. Finally, Derek Carr throwing downfield and making things happen, feeling better. How good does Derek Carr, when Derek Carr woke up this morning, and saw all the news about what happened with Vegas, how good was he feeling? How much better did that coffee taste for him this morning?
He's probably doing some fist bumps and dropping some F-bombs.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
sorry, Joe.
No, it's great. I mean, he got out before the ship went down, and good for him. And maybe he's going to start a playoff game at home if New Orleans can just win games they're supposed to win, like this one. Rashid Shaheed, again, with 4 teams on bye, 3 good offenses. He's red hot. Chicago doesn't scare us, so he should be in your lineup. Even Michael Thomas and Chris Olave should bounce back. Alvin Kamara keeping it up, even with Taysom Hill getting 2 rushing touchdowns. Even with Jamal Williams back, Alvin Kamara is looking really good. And again, this is a game that the Saints can start to stake their claim to this division, and maybe it is going to work out. Maybe Derek Carr is going to unlock some dimensions in this pass offense that Andy Dalton did not. And whatever it is going to be, it's Saints game day in New Orleans, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, early game fun, late game fun, which we'll get to tomorrow, and a what the heck flex, of course. But yeah, man, I think Crunchy Talk might be on Sorry Joe Plus, right? We got to bring that out.
I mean, we could bring that out and see. Again, I want to say that when we're here for you, not just for fantasy football. And Dia de los Muertos is really important because we all came from somewhere, right? Every single one of us came from somewhere. If anybody out there is listening or watching and you didn't come from some person, a womb, a line, a history that goes all the way back in human history to sheesh, Cease, how far do all of our histories go? The story that led to you, the story that led to me, the story that led to you listening right now as I'm in your ear. And it's good to have a day, at least one day, to reflect. And the idea of making your altar and having the picture of your ancestor and offering them whatever they liked. What do you remember? Maybe stories you heard, maybe things you shared with that person, or things you got for that person because you love them. They're in you. They're with you. And they can be even more with you when they're in your mind. You're saying their name, you're looking at their picture, you're thinking about them. It feels good to be part of a bigger story. It feels good to not have the burden of it all being about you.
Right. And Bloom, it's interesting. When I was in my pepper fever dreams, Bill Cowher stuff.
See, Bill Cowher's like, Cecil, I'm your spirit guide.
Right. Maybe it's because he has such a pronounced chin, and I have like a weak chin. But when I shaved, and last night I was writing about Santa Muerta, by the way, part of Death Support, which was successfully funded on Kickstarter. Thanks, everybody. Gun Disciplined is coming up next on Kickstarter, just for a update for everyone. Anyway, so I'm writing about Santa Muerta. My throat's killing me. My sinuses are drained because I made chili that was way too hot. I'm dreaming about Bill Cowher. And as I was looking at my reflection, I was like, with a clean face, I look more native.
Yeah.
I definitely could see the Hispanic, right?
Yes.
And I was thinking of my grandpa Paul, who always was very proud of the fact that he was full-blooded Aztec.
Yes.
And so, like, just writing about that, and I've, obviously studied Aztec history a ton, but writing about Santa Muerta and like feeling Dias de los Muertos, like, yeah, man, it's that time to get crunchy. Today's the day, right?
Yeah, there's some knowledge that will never completely fade, Cease. Maybe none of it will in time. It's on us. It's out there. I always like to say, Cease, I'll leave us with this. The secrets of the universe aren't secrets.
They're hidden, though.
Yeah. Only because they've been hidden by people who don't want us.
That's why, do you know the Latin word occultare?
Right.
It's hidden.
Right.
Hidden knowledge. So go seek and ye shall find hidden fantasy knowledge. Right?
Yeah.
That's how we get it back. We get it. We steer it off the road and then we come back.
Always.
Fantasy football.
Everything's connected to everything. And we're just trying to help you see that.
Yep, that's right. He's Sigmund. Follow him on socials at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show is at the Audible.
We got
sorry, I just saw Jason's comment.
Yeah. Sorry, Joe Plus.
I know.
Good. Yeah.
Sorry, Joe
10:50 a.m. in the chat. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah. Sorry, Joe. Sorry, Joe, for all of this. We apologize. Since 2006, 18 years of the Audible. When we're rolling something else. Am I right, everybody? Yeah. Anyway, appreciate you all. Love you all. Be good. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty?